Hey everyone, welcome to Flywheelpod, your number one source for everything Frax, DeFi, and everything in between. If you want to know what's going on in the world on chain, you've come to the right place. This is DeFi Dave, here with capital K. We're here to help you harness the power of the flywheel. And this week, the flywheel has gone off its usual path. It has gone to new lands. It has gone to Solana and Aptos land. What? we we've interviewed the head of BD and PR at OtterSec, which is the top auditing firm of the Solana ecosystem, and they do everything. They do a little bit of everything, but they literally have a retainer with the Solana Foundation, and look at all their contracts and everything what's going on there. And honestly, I learned a lot this episode. Like, I wanted to do this episode just to, build, like I say, build bridges with other communities, because Frax doesn't live in a vacuum. Crypto doesn't live in a vacuum. It's very easy to get tribal, but, it's important to reach out and listen to, like, how other communities are thinking, and also to, give them a chance to, listen to us and hear what we have to say. What do you think, Kit?
I think I love this expansion. I love learning about new ecosystem and protocols, and also surprising to hear how similar things are over there as well in terms of just degenerate behavior, except obviously much faster and much freer or much cheaper because of the chain. I felt like we didn't hold back either on some of the not so great things. Chain being down, wallet hacks, exploits. We
definitely had our tough questions for him, but I think Cuffy handled them pretty well. And it was just a lot of fun, just like chopping it up back and forth with him. And he had he had some good back and forth with us, and vice versa. I think other ecosystems are here to stay. It's just like a matter of how they evolve and how each one develops and grows into their own niche, whatever that may be.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. And on that note, don't forget to hit that bell button and subscribe to us on YouTube. Over 1K subscribers. Let's go. You can follow us on Twitter at FlywheelPod. You can join our Telegram group at FlywheelPod. Follow me on Twitter at DeFi Dave 22.
Follow me at 0xcapital_K.
And let's get the flywheel spinning. All right, Cuffy. So can you give us a little bit of intro about yourself and OtterSec? Because when I went on the OtterSec website, I just saw Solana and Aptos everywhere. So I just assumed that it was Solana Aptos land. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's hear about like what's going on over here in blockchain land.
Sure, of course. I guess it's kind of just when we started, right? So we're a 7-month-old security company at this point. And obviously the security landscape on EVM is already very competitive. So we found a lot of opportunity in partnering with people like the Solana Foundation to audit not only their core code, but everything that they invest in as a VC. So we have them on retainer to basically send us smart contracts and audit them as they make new investments. And then we started to do the same thing with Aptos as well. And the people that they invest in and their core code and the Move VM itself. And not to mention, like, we do EVM stuff as well, right? It's just very competitive. But so I guess where we started was definitely Solana, and actually the name OtterSec simply comes from the fact that Solana Beach has otters. So yes.
Nice.
Yeah. Was this in Miami or was this somewhere else on
This is in
San Diego?
California, yeah.
Okay. Oh, so like there's literally otters there. So it's like otters, the otters are posting up, securing the compound.
I thought that was
dude,
a play on auditor. I thought it was a play on auditor. But, I was like, okay,
right.
that works.
It all
too.
kind of works. Yep. It all works together. So and then I guess a little bit about me. I previously worked. So how I got into cybersecurity is quite an adventure, I guess. But I started off. I got my BA in law from the University of Arizona. I worked at a law firm for a bit and was working on just regular contracts, and found out pretty quickly it's not really what I wanted to do. Even the lawyers there, they were like, dude, you really don't want to be a lawyer. And I was like, maybe you're right. And I was working there while I was in college too. And it was peak COVID, and was really turned off by the whole operation. So made a transition into traditional finance, selling REITs for a company called Apollo Global Management. And there's obviously a lot of red tape in traditional finance. So, and meanwhile, this whole time I've been interacting with DeFi and like buying Bitcoin back in 2016, 2017. And, for all the various reasons you can use Bitcoin for. And then, kind of staying active on Twitter and doing research on new blockchains. And then, while I'm participating in DeFi and buying Bitcoin, and my traditional finance company is saying, hey, you can't do this. And if you do, you have to tell us about it. I was like, why don't I just go work in Web3 full time? So,
okay.
Yep. Ended up at.
Were you doing DeFi summer things?
Yeah, I was shitcoining a little bit.
But
were you like farming too?
You can't shit with us.
Yeah. Were you farming? Like, were you just like buying and selling tokens on Uniswap? Like, what were you doing?
A little bit of both. I wasn't like too involved or even knew much about what I was doing at the time, right? Like I was kind of just playing around with like money that I had to play around with, which was like around $1,000 at the time I was in college, and playing with new technology. But actually, one thing I did was run a masternode with one of my friends. Like we set up a masternode for this coin called Masternode Community Coin. And we had no idea what was going on. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the masternode narratives. It's always like Dash Network, like, yo, like this we owned like worth the island of Manhattan one day. But no, that's good experience though, like setting up a masternode, like getting in the code like that, like everybody has their own journey into
for sure
this shit. Yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
Where were we?
I guess like how I got into security itself. I met a friend from Twitter who lived in Arizona, who was working for another security company called Kudelski Security. They've been around for a long time, and they've been around since like 1951. And I started working for them on like a business development basis and traveling a little bit. And my first trip with them was actually to Miami, like for Solana Miami, the hacker house. And I met someone named Robert Chen, who's actually the founder of OtterSec. And actually at the time, they only had like a few hundred followers on Twitter. And I spoke with Robert Chen, our founder. I was like, man, this kid is extremely intelligent and talented, and he knows what he's doing. He's learned the language very quickly. And a lot of our tech team thought the exact same. And so what I tried to do is get them to acquire OtterSec at like that young age of like a few hundred followers. And, they wouldn't do it. It was a big company, corporation. They're not willing to just bet on startups, right? And, after a few more months with them and some of the red tape involved and how I had to move, I figured I'd prefer the startup life more. So I ended up leaving that company and coming to work with Robert at OtterSec, and come full circle, we actually just passed them in followers last week. So.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Wait, how so you started off like?
It's been like 2 months now. So I was only working at Kudelski earlier this year.
Okay, so this is all recent. Yeah. So the Solana that was like at the beginning of this year, right? Not the beginning, but like kind of like Miami Tech Week, Miami Hack Week. There's always a Miami something week in the winter.
Right. Yeah. So Solana Miami was like early April.
Okay. Oh yeah, it was during BTC Miami then.
That's right.
Okay, so you basically went from like, you went to college, you did law, and then you're just like, this isn't for me. You went to traditional finance, you're like, this definitely isn't for me. It was kind of like a whole A/B testing you were doing, like, I'm feeling this out, which is actually very healthy because a lot of times people would just be in like one spot and accept their misery, and you're like, nah, I'm not accepting that shit. I'm going 100%. on. I know what I want, and like I'm moving on to like the next best the thing that's best for me. And like I think people listening should like realize that like don't settle in the position that they're in, because like there's always something better out there, and that's how you ended up at OtterSec.
Ultimately, man, yeah, and not having to choose one chain either, like I mentioned earlier, right? Like kind of getting to work with everybody in the ecosystem and not just picking EVM and being a maximalist for that, or not just picking Solana and being a maximalist for that, even though both chains have great value and can be used for different things. They have different use cases, and I'll use both at any point in time when I need to or want to. So That's what I like most. And getting to work with teams who are building on both chains, allows your network to expand infinitely.
Yeah, got it. So what is it? I guess what are like some of like your main comparisons between EVM chains and Solana chains? I always view Solana as just faster ETH, just like very simply. It's just, very high execution rate, throughput, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I'll let you continue.
I mean, a lot of the things being built on them are very similar, and obviously, like the main difference up until the merge was proof of work versus proof of stake. But outside of that, I mean, it's really just I would say the language that it's built on. So Solidity versus Rust. I know that what really attracted a lot of EVM developers towards Rust and now Move has been like the efficiency and the security of the language. And basically just the ability to build on these blockchains and save time while doing it and being able to create the same product ultimately.
What do you mean by like efficiency and security of the language? Like how does like Move and Rust compare to Solidity? In your own words?
My understanding, so Rust for developers is like it compiles easier, and it's almost like a library that compiles other languages into simple functions together. So it saves time if you know what you're doing on Solidity or Node.js. It kind of compiles all of these interactions into one function that will allow you to build something easier than you would on Solidity. And that's not to say that an efficient or proficient Solidity developer couldn't do something just as quickly. But that's where I've seen developers move, and why they've moved was simply because of the language.
Move, like no pun intended.
No pun intended, right? Yeah.
Are you seeing a lot of Solana devs?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to, do you see a lot of Solana devs moving to Move?
I've seen less of that than I have seen Solidity to Rust or Move for that matter. They can do both. And I mean, yeah, there's some actually big name people that have actually moved to Aptos, right? But it's an entirely new language, and what makes it inherently secure is like the built-in formal verification. And people in general gravitate towards that. It'll make it harder to rug pull your liquidity from a DeFi protocol or an NFT marketplace, whatever it is.
Got it. Yeah, because I feel like everyone talks about like L1 rotations, and this is what makes people wary. But like you see the same thing over and over. I remember like last cycle, like you had all the BTC maxis, mad at ETH people coming up, and then you had the other L1s like EOS and like whatnot. And I'm like a veteran of that cycle, so I still remember EOS like very branded in my brain for life. And so when Solana came along, I was like, oh, this is just another EOS, but I was wrong. It was not. Right. There was a lot more force behind it, but the same way you saw BTC maxis, attack ETH maxis, you had ETH maxis attack Solana maxis. And so like, what is your like take? And now like, it's funny. I have one friend who's a Solana maxi. I won't say his name, but he was upset about Aptos coming out, and he was just saying like all the same words that ETH maxis would say about Solana and vice versa. And I'm just like, you realize you sound like a maxi right now. Right. It's really funny. So like, what is your take on this? Like, L1 kind of both like race for, competition for mind share and attention, and also just, is there like a better one? Do different ones serve different purposes? Like, of course, what are your thoughts on it?
So what I saw initially in like the BTC ETH maxi argument was like Bitcoin maxis hating on ETH maxis for the purpose that ETH maxis wanted to be sound money, the way Bitcoin has professed to be since the beginning, right? So that's where they argued a lot, was like, hey, no, Bitcoin there is no second best. You know what I mean? So that's like their argument. There is no second best, but the fact that you could actually build on Ethereum was obviously way better than the fact that, Bitcoin is not scalable like ETH is now on proof of stake. But what I actually saw from Bitcoin maxis was them start to gravitate towards people who were building on Solana or Solana maxis in general, because Solana never professed to be a store of value, right? It was just a fast layer one that you could build dApps on top of, and made it easy to transact seamlessly. Like you see things like StepN and SolPay where you don't even realize that you're paying or using the blockchain. You're just, on the blockchain using NFTs or paying with Solana seamlessly, like with the tap of a card or a button.
So basically, ETH maxis were stepping on BTC's turf, the sound money turf, especially with the whole meme ultrasound money.
Right.
That was ETH trying to be like BTC, but Solana never advertised like that, never professed that. And it was kind of one of those things. The enemy of my enemy is thy friend. I mean, we're all friends here, but
precisely, yeah.
But like, it makes it makes sense because I believe the Frank from Degens was a BTC guy before he went to Solana, right?
That makes sense. Yeah, I know he wears that mask on stage.
He wears the BTC mask. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So I can definitely see that reliance. And actually, a while back, I met up with this guy. I don't know if you know who he is. His name's Amir. Do you know who he is?
I do not.
So early BTC dev, he's technically one of the co-founders of Ethereum. This dude is a badass. This dude, he literally quit Ethereum to go like fight in Syria, like with the rebels against the Syrian government. Like this dude is a professed like anarchist, like very true to his values. And I actually was I met up with him in Lisbon because he spoke at LizCon, and I interviewed him for one of the articles I was writing for Defiant. And in one of my conversations with him, he was saying how he was building this new platform called DarkFi. So it's like a privacy chain for DeFi and whatnot. And one of the things was he really liked Rust and he really liked Solana. And one of the words that he said to me in my head that still sticks with me is this: I love EVM, and I'll always be like ETH at heart, but like he was like, solidity is stringed together like spaghetti. Like I'm not a dev, but like I feel like you probably know what he means more by that, just from being an auditor.
Just from hearing it, from other people in the space, and like seeing the migration of people from the only reason they moved, right? It's not like they're chasing market cap. Like sure, the price pumped 10x over the course of a few months, but a lot of that had to do with the fact that developers were moving there, building there, and creating attractive products on a blockchain with high throughput, and ultimately a good team, right? Like Anatoly and Raj, they're both great dudes, and you go to any of these hacker houses and they're front and center. Like you can go ask them any questions as a developer, about their core code. They're very, very easy to approach, and obviously active on Twitter. So I think that's another thing that really opened people up to that. And then Solana Miami itself was just like an awesome production, right? So you have a free event that all you have to do is sign up for digitally, and I mean, you're getting lunch and dinner every day and free coffee, and you get to go sit on panels, and you get to see like different art galleries for NFTs, and it just became like an extremely attractive thing altogether, and it turned into a cult from there, like everything, right?
Yeah, like everything. All the best chains are cults at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah.
But back to the language thing, like, you have like, at first I was like, oh, like EVM's the JavaScript. You're only gonna live in like an EVM world. But like Rust, like the fact that Solana exists and devs are going to Solana, like proves against that assumption. And also, even with ETH L2s, with Starknet, with Cairo, you have devs going there, wanting to experiment there. So, and it's still very early. I think it's early enough that like, yeah, EVM is dominant now, but it's going to be a long bear market. Like, what if like more devs like learn Rust? What if more devs learn Move? I mean, I think ETH has definitely, kind of has reached escape velocity to a certain extent. But like, we'll see. I don't think it's like completely dominant just yet. I think like, as I say, like Solana has legs, but they just need to go through, I call it their like dark period first.
Yeah. 100%. And then like as I mentioned, so you mentioned Lisbon earlier. You're planning to go to Lisbon this year
I
for some
do.
of those events?
I will be in Lisbon. I haven't signed up for any slot. I just happen to be there at the same time as Breakpoint.
Okay,
But
right.
but I haven't signed up for anything. I'm curious, especially now since it's not at like $250, like it's at $20 or $30. So I'm curious who's sticking around in the bear, and like I call it the dark time. Like every project, every chain needs to go through a dark period to shake out all the short term grifters and scammers and
100%.
whatnot. And the people that stay are the people that like develop kind of this loyalty and kind of like religious ferocity
Yeah,
around the chain. Yeah. So.
right. No, so we're gonna be there actually for like 2 weeks. OtterSec will
Oh,
be, and we're
oh,
throwing
are you gonna
several
be there?
events. Yeah,
Are you gonna be?
so yeah, we're throwing several events. We'd love to have you there,
Oh, I'm
and
down. I'll be
yeah.
there.
So I'll send you all the passwords and the links and whatnot. And but they're gonna be big events. So we're co-sponsoring with like 4 or 5 other pretty solid companies. So like Dialect, you have on-chain messaging, that's chain agnostic as well. And then Jito Labs, they specialize in MEV on Solana. It's another one.
Oh.
There's a few others
Mev on
that were
Solana. It sounds
MEV on
intense.
Solana. Yeah, it sounds competitive as well.
Yeah.
But
Sounds fast.
right. Yeah. So well, that's ultimately the idea. Yeah, so the event's called Base Layer, and we're co-sponsoring with Squads, which is like a multi-sig platform. MarginFi, they do like yield and lending, and then Clockwork, they're basically like AI generated data price feeds, and so it's going to be a rather big event. We're expecting like 300-400 people.
AI generated data price feeds.
Yeah, so I'm not even entirely sure.
Buzzword.
They do a lot of automation type stuff. But yeah, shout out to our friends
Okay.
at Clockwork, clockwork.xyz if you're interested.
I'll ask what they're up to when they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Christian, I actually wanted to, we've been talking about all this flowery stuff, and not all things are rainbows and unicorns, right? On the Solana land, just like on ETH land, right? And so I wanted to double click into all of the downtime that we've seen in the past. I know lately it's kind of been better and such, but what was that like, on your end when your community kind of experienced this downtime and people getting liquidated and such?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was mayhem. You look around, you see a lot of these Twitter spaces. You see, I mean, like from a community perspective, people just, when Solana's down and when price is nuking, and you start to see it in the timeline where people, are losing their minds. And then a lot of our clients, they're like looking for guidance on it, and like we're just helping push through. Like we're in all the Discord channels and Telegram, just saying, hey, if you're even running a validator right now, just get ready to restart it so we can start it back up. But I guess like technically Solana is still in open beta, right? And what's cool about Solana, I guess at this point, is so Jump Crypto. Are you guys familiar with them?
Yeah.
So we just spent a month at Xhack in Chicago. That's why I was there, getting a great American bagel, as we talked about earlier. They threw this event called Xhack, and at this venue called the Pit, which is where their trading office is. So Jump Crypto, they've been around for 30 years or so as just trading equities, and then now have spun off and trade crypto, and have a venture capitalist branch that they're investing in projects with. And so on the 3rd floor of their building, they have the Pit, where they have a bunch of beanbags set up and standing desks and monitors, and they give you lunch and dinner every day. And they basically are just encouraging people to come and build, and like looking for new projects to invest in. And it's all just by application. If you're anybody who wants to build in the space, they're willing to sponsor all that, cover 50% of your hotel room, and keep you there just to build and network and meet new people. So I guess where I'm going with the story is Jump Crypto has like spun off and built their whole own what's called Firedancer, the Solana Firedancer, and what it is basically so I guess they partnered with the Solana Foundation to basically boost throughput and reliability, to make Solana more high performance. Basically, what they want to do with it is partake in like high frequency trading and market making and MEV for that matter. So they've deployed resources to like add this extra layer of validators that will help improve the stability of Solana over time.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, there's one thing a blockchain needs to do: stay up. That's the most important thing, is to stay alive. And like, I mean, we all, we have trade-offs with everything, like throughput, like uptime, decentralization. But yeah, that's like one thing a blockchain needs to do. And every time it goes down, it hurts Solana that much more. And you can say like, yeah, it's in open beta. I think I heard that before, but like, it's still like, there's still like hundreds of millions of dollars like at stake in this beta. It's like, I mean, like, will it like get there where like it will never go down again? Like, it's just like a matter of like, the longer it's like, it's the Lindy effect. The longer it doesn't go down, the better it is, the more credibility it gains. But like every time it goes down, boom, like all that progress made, it's just, just becomes like the butt of all jokes. And that's just like such an easy thing that ETH people can just like pick at. And so like, well, is there a plan to like, it's not going to be an open beta forever. Like, will there be like an alpha? Will there be like an, I don't know, omega? Like, will there be like
a release, like a public release,
like a mainnet
beta? Yeah, like a real mainnet.
Mainnet.
The real mainnet.
Who knows, man? Yeah, it's the same type of speculation where I mean, like when it comes to ETH, we're like, will ETH ever be proof of stake type thing? Like it kept getting delayed. Like we're in the same space with, I'd say Solana. It's only been around since like 2019, right? Or 2020 when it first started getting traction. So yeah, I guess it's only a matter of time. But in that early stage of Solana too, what impressed me the most, like turned me kind of into a user of it in the first place, was how much was built on it already and how quickly people were willing to build. And I think like what really was attractive was the liquidity on NFTs, right? And the cost to transact being so low, like that made it really attractive for, people who wanted to flip and trade this new hot technology called NFT, right? So I think that's what really took it off, like made it take off. And a lot of the downtime on Solana has been spent because of like botting for NFT mints and for NFT flippers, basically using machines to buy and sell NFTs and like market make them in a sense.
Got it.
But yeah.
So when you first got to Solana, like what was there already and what has been built since then? So yeah, you can go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, I remember. What was there? So FTX was like the worst website ever at the time. I remember it was like bare bones. Obviously,
was this like 2020?
Yeah, it was like, and it was hard to like get to onboard new people. Like if I ever sent them a ref link to like my mom or dad, they would be like, I can't even log in from my phone. It would just give them a tough time. So that's like, and obviously, FTX, they're a big supporter of Solana, and like Solana transactions are free from their website. But that like FTX was bad UI, bad UX. And so that's where I bought my first Solana, was FTX, and then sent it to a Phantom wallet. No, you know what it was? It was actually a Solid. Is what it was called, like a Sol wallet, Solid.
I remember.
And it was this trash. Like even if you go to their website now, Solid.io, they're like, there are literally better wallets out there. You have Phantom, you have Solflare. They'll like tell you, go use other wallets. This one sucks. And then there were dashboards, things like Zapper on ETH. There was something called Step Finance, which is still around. And then Sonar is another one. But then from there, you had lending protocols like Tulip, where you could just deposit USDC and at the time earn up to like, I think I've seen as high as 40% APY, but it was only dependent on how much was being borrowed at the time. So obviously that fluctuates. It wasn't anything being promised, right? Like it wasn't like Terra type, like 19% APY is guaranteed. It was, if somebody's borrowing this much, you deposit some USDC, you'll get paid for it. And then a lot of yield farming opportunities as well. I was yield farming on Tulip. So at the time, actually, what was it called? It's now called Tulip Protocol, but it was called
Soulflare or something?
Yeah, something
Radium?
like no, right. So Radium was around too though, and it was called like Soul. It's just Soul something, right? Soul, whatever.
Very
It'll come back
creative with
to
the
me.
names of all these
Right.
projects,
Yeah,
whether it's like
Solid
Salt,
Soul. Yeah.
yeah, or RB Nyan or whatever. Like, what else is out
No,
there?
I feel you. And then like Orca is a pretty OG name. Bonfida.
Mhm.
They did like the naming service for all the .sol domains,
Mm.
and I mean that's pretty much it. Like I've seen a lot of obviously Magic Eden wasn't really around. The first NFT marketplace was Solanart or Solanart, and that's where like the majority, like everybody, nobody could wait. It was like there was volume out the wazoo on this website. Anytime an NFT would drop, everything would 30x like right off the drop, and there was just mad liquidity there at high speeds, and like the pages itself, like the actual website couldn't interact fast enough with how fast people were transacting and trying to buy NFTs at the time. And it was just the land of
Madness.
liquidity at the time. Yeah. So that's where it gained a lot of traction, obviously, and things have slowed down since. So that's where you start to see the FUD, and like obviously everything's like when it's hot off the presses, everybody wants it, but then when the liquidity dies down, it's like now what?
Hey, are you a DAO or large holder on chain looking to trade in size? Do you have a token and are lacking liquidity? Well, do we have a solution for you? FRAXSWAP is the first TWAM time-weighted automated market maker, which allows you to basically DCA at will. Want to make a trade over 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, even a month or longer? FRAXSWAP is here for you. If you're a DAO with a token looking for liquidity, you can even apply for a gauge and incentivize FXS liquidity on your behalf. Wow, isn't that great? FRAXSWAP, where your size is size.
So
Christian.
Solana really found its footing with NFT and NFT liquidity, because the thing with NFTs is, I think what I've realized, people don't care what chain it's on. They just like the art. They like the artist. You know, they don't, the artist, vice versa. Like they don't, at the end of the day, they just like want somewhere where they can transact. And it seemed like Solana has really, you know, carved their own lane in that regard.
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, so there's a lot of like normie friends, we'll call them, that I onboarded to blockchain and NFTs at this point in time, because of Solana and how easy it made it to do. Whereas like, so I'd onboard people to Solana. Hey, download a Phantom wallet. Hey, throw some Solana in it, buy the next anything that mints. It costs like 1 or 2 Solana. People are like, all right, I trust you. I just saw you 30x on an NFT in 8 hours. I will listen to whatever you say. So it got down to that point, and onboarding them was easy because the price to transact was so low. And then a lot of people would say like, well, why aren't we using ETH? My friend says ETH is the best. I'm like, well, okay, if you go and try and do what I just did on Solana on ETH, it'll cost you like $300. So onboarding people was harder at that point in time for Ethereum than it was for Solana. So that's where, you know.
That's the crux of ETH. I mean, like, yeah, ETH doesn't go down, but when it's up, like when people are using it, that real estate's expensive. It's mighty expensive.
But it'll still be cheaper now, right? Like I mean, like
it is cheaper now. Yeah.
Like as the chain gets used more of the supply gets burned, ultimately bringing the gas price down. Like, will we ever see people like front running transactions to build the price on them like they were before? Like, I'm curious.
I think
your
they'll
take on that.
I think they'll always exist, like people trying to front run or spoof or this and that. I think what we're waiting for is seeing, you know, executions migrate to the rollups. Like right now, like even there's some like rollups, you know, you have some applications on rollups, whether it's like GMX or like maybe a few others where there's some action going on, but still I would say the majority of action is on the main chain. And right now the main chain is cheap. It's still like way more expensive than Solana, but like a few bucks for a transaction. I wonder what it's going to take for, you know, people to migrate over to rollups. I think ZK rollups can tremendously bring down prices and actually have like the same effect like Solana had on onboarding users because it's cheap, but with ZKs. I know with Zigzag, my friend actually built that. It was just like a regular order book exchange on ZK Sync 1.0. No applications. All you can do on ZK Sync 1.0 is trade and swap and send. That's it. Those are the only 2-3 things you can do.
Right.
And just from making like a simple like interface and a usable interface, he was able to get 4,000 daily active users from all over the world, and they found him because transactions are that much cheaper on ZK Sync. And so there is like something to be said about cheap transactions. And the whole, like, when I was at DevCon last week or a few weeks ago, like one of the big narratives was like ZK EVM, it's coming soon, let's fucking go. But it's like one of those things, like, yes, we have the merge, like the merge was finally done, like
Right.
it shows that the ETH community can do this. ZK EVM getting figured out. It just takes a lot of work, like lining like the circuits and whatnot. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of like, it reminds me of the human genome. But
For sure.
that was a long rant.
No, it's good.
I actually
ahead,
wanted
Capital.
to learn a bit more about the DeFi scene on Solana, especially the early days of the DeFi scene on Solana. Because in on ETH, it was pretty much pick your favorite food emoji farm, and they're going to token emit to the freaking moon for you, and liquidity literally bounced around everywhere, and you just LP'd here, wrap this, and then leverage LP more. Like, did you see this same kind of degeneracy and debauchery on Solana? Especially since it's like
100%.
more
Yeah.
cheaper fees and faster.
Probably
yeah.
more so.
And you saw not only the degeneracy and debauchery, but you saw it at light speed and for very little cost, right? So it also allowed a lot of developers to put out, bad products and projects. Then people wouldn't care, just because, like I mentioned, like they were chasing the liquidity. They're like, oh, this is gonna 10x. It's easy. It looks just like the last project. And same with the coins. Obviously, you have that incident where
well, the developer was like, one or two developers were responsible for like 8 or 9 DeFi protocols on Solana.
Yeah, I saw that article.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that article?
It was
Honestly,
that's
like,
part of
yeah,
that is correct. Yeah, we'll choose to unname them. I mean, if you know, you know. But yeah, they've been around.
the ones that shall not be named.
I heard
They
they're
have
moving
moved
over to
on
Aptos now.
to
They moved to move.
I don't know if that. Right. They tried. My understanding was that, or at least last thing I heard was that they were blacklisted from the ecosystem. So at least that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, but you never know. Like, people can come in all iterations. They got their money and they're off doing whatever now. But I guess to go back to your point of ZK technology, Dave, it's really important technology, also very complex. So that's something that we have our researchers working on right now and are very interested in. And there's a lot of people actually, like one of my good friends, he's actually doing a workshop on it. He like just blasted out a tweet, hey, if you want to learn about ZK tech, like hit me up, DM me, and I'm going to set up a weekly class on it, basically, because he's a cryptographer. He has a master's in cryptography, and it's the thing he's most interested in. And so ZK technology is based around cryptography and solving these complex math problems for transacting privately, but also at a low cost and high speed. So yes, that's something we're working to looking to partner with people basically on this new technology ultimately. But yeah.
So OtterSec is actively researching and looking into how they can audit ZK, both ZK EVM contracts and also Cairo contracts, or all kinds of ZK stuff.
Ultimately, yeah, and Solana's even working on their own iteration of ZK. To what extent, I'm unsure.
What is it?
I don't even know, man. I plead the fifth. But yeah, everybody's working on something, right? And I'm sure Aptos will have their thing, Sweet will have their thing, ZK related. It's all technology that's kind of just being chipped away at right now. And then when someone really breaks through, it'll be this, giant celebration where it's like, holy shit, this is actually how it works. But yeah, so I mean, with languages like Move, we started learning about them. I guess it was 4 or 5 months ago. Robert Chen, our founder, and started learning about it and really becoming an expert in it. So Sam Blackshear, the guy who actually started the language, him and Robert have been in close contact about actually making the language more inherently secure and building things like the Move Prover, which is like built-in formal verification, which for developers is really important for stack overflows and making sure that your protocol doesn't blow up and can't be exploited. Um, I had one other thing, but yeah, so Move, yeah, he's Robert Chen at this point is deemed the guy who learned Move overnight, but is
The
also an
guy
expert in
who,
it.
the guy who learned it overnight, the guy who became
Yeah.
who truly became an expert.
Yeah.
What I find interesting about Move and all the reason why Aptos and SWE exist is because the government went hard on Facebook saying, no, you can't have your own chain. No, you can't have your own stablecoin. Libra, Diem, put a sock in it, literally. Like, we won't allow you to do this. And so then they invested billions of dollars creating this technology, building this new language, and they trained all these people. And now it was like, well, we have this new language. Maybe we can raise money for it. And then they
Quite literally, yeah.
Hey, how about another L1, guys? Let's bring it around. Maybe 2 more.
Run it back. Yeah, exactly.
Run it back.
Yep.
Speaking of which, I mean, it's pretty apparent if you've been on CT, like the reaction that Aptos has gotten with their launch, with both like the tokenomics not released when Binance and FTX listed it, and then it having like 4 TPS like when it launched. So like, Cuffy, what are your thoughts, if you have any, on that? And like, is the 4 TPS thing like kind of like a fluke? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, so I've seen it raise. I've seen them try and fix it. I know they've been promising up to like 200,000 TPS, right? Which we're very, very far off of. I have a wallet, and we're actually so I've yet to actually go in and transact. So I know it only went live on mainnet. What was it, like the 17th? I was actually at Xhack, where a lot of these people were building on Aptos, and it was like a bomb that got dropped. Like, yo, Aptos mainnet, by the way. And then everyone was
by
like,
the way.
Yeah. So it just kind of came out of nowhere, and all these people that were building on Aptos, like, were kind of in the shadow about it, and started pushing products out to try and compensate for it. So like, we knew it was coming out the 17th, being partnered with them, and tried to keep that. Not that I think it was a secret, right? But I don't think anyone was like hard set on when it was supposed to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
The TPS side of things, I've seen them fluctuate. I know people are transacting on the blockchain. I know there are mints happening at low costs. There are some really good wallets. I guess like the best one out there that I have is Martian Wallet. Someone we've actually done an audit for. It's a solid team, good code, beautiful UI as well. Like, not to shill, like, I genuinely like this wallet. And you can go connect it to Topaz Market, which is like an NFT marketplace. There's a few other like DeFi protocols. Like, you have Tsunami protocol. It's not launched yet, but they're offering, and I'm not sure how, but we'll see when it launches. Tsunami Finance, they're offering 0% slippage on leveraged perps up to 30x. So I'm wondering,
every Degen listening to this, go getting a Martian wallet right now.
Christian is giving you the step-by-step wiki how for 30x leverage.
Anyways,
this is coming out in like a week and a half, so like there's time.
It's okay. Good to know. Yeah. So the guys at Tsunami Finance are solid too. They were at Xhack as well, building. Their team is awesome. You have their like community guy Bones. He's super cool, and then community like manager Suju, her name is, and then their he goes by Mutable Dev. Is their lead developer. He's super cool dude.
Mutable Dev. I don't know if I want my devs to be mutable.
I know, right? That's a good point. Yeah, it's like that's what he goes by on the internet. He doesn't like being doxxed either, but if you meet him in person, he'll tell you his name too.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, like, I think the thing about Solana and why like I respect it and commend it, and I'm always been like into it a little bit, is because Solana has kind of developed this soul of a community that is like holding it even through this bear. I don't think I've seen this with Aptos yet. Aptos just launched, and yet like people are just like wary of like really big numbers and big raises, especially this late in the market. from your observations at Xhack and other places, have you seen any soul form around Aptos yet? Or is it just people just like there for the opportunity and money?
Yeah, so maximalism is hard to achieve overnight, you know, like especially mainnet went live, what, 7 days ago. So I wouldn't call it maximalism by any means unless we're referring specifically to the people developing in Move, right? So like they like the language and they're developing on it, but from that cult perspective we were talking about earlier, I haven't seen too much of it. Like especially in comparison to Solana, almost, you know, none.
Okay, yeah, because it's just too early right now.
Christian, are you seeing a lot of like the theme of these hackathons and these projects being built? Do you see a lot of them using NFTs, or are they more on the DeFi side or on the social side? Like what are you seeing?
I've noticed, so I guess like the teams building there, if you're presenting something on demo day every Friday, so it was 4 weeks, right? And they had a demo day every Friday. Oftentimes like if you're presenting, you're not going up there to shill your NFT project. So it's something like DeFi based or something that is like a risk engine for a DeFi protocol, or even like a search engine that helps verify results for smart contracts connected with different social medias. So you're not interacting with bad contracts. Or, you know, like operating systems even. There's one that I saw called Dream OS. There's like this Web3 operating system they built. And you have things like Backpack with Armani Ferrante, which is NFT related, right? It just helps you interact better with your NFTs. But for NFTs themselves, I wouldn't say there's just like one project or like one person there like grinding an NFT project specifically, but you'd see a lot of them actually though like having something on the side with an NFT project. Like in general, I mean, I think a lot of people aspire to have an NFT project that mints out like that, but also like provide utility to a community. So, you know, a lot of people do it on the side for sure.
Good. Is there gaming or any other verticals aside from the usual suspect? Because I figured every new L1 kind of runs through that same DeFi, the holy trinity, right? Each chain needs their own holy trinity of like, you know, lending.
Yeah, they need their exchange, the lending market, their stablecoin, blah, blah, blah.
Same thing over
yeah,
and
so
over.
they definitely have their stablecoin. Yeah, decentralized stablecoin. Argo is someone we've audited. They have a good team as well. Intelligent CTO over there. What else? So stablecoin, DeFi, 30x leverage. Of course, you can't not have that.
You can't not have that.
Yeah, come on, like that's table stakes.
The NFT
gaming,
marketplaces, of
like
course.
anything in the gaming space?
Not. Haven't seen as much gaming there as I have like seen the promise for gaming on blockchains like Sui. So I think Sui is supposed to be more gaming focused, and they also, you know, have their talent from Facebook, right? So the way that's split up may have been uneven, or you know, they're different teams working to achieve the same goal of like a high throughput network. So yeah, Mistin Labs is someone that Sam Blackshear actually works for, the guy who created Move, and you know, we're working with them to implement best security practices as well. But to answer your question, gaming I think is going to be more specific to Sui and the Move language than it will be with Aptos and the Move language.
So
until
Aptos,
like, you know,
Aptos is more general.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I wonder what's going to make Aptos different than Solana. They seem like it's pretty close in similarities, like close promises. It's like, and you know, you see a good amount of talent go from Solana to Aptos as well, whether it's like the head of marketing of some place and whatnot. So I'm curious to see how Aptos differentiates itself from Solana. It seems like Sui actually has in this like gaming capacity, but yeah, I guess, you know, we'll wait and see. Like, who knows? Like, I'm honestly like, I'll wait and see. Wait and see.
Nice.
I want to get into like a few few infamous exploits on Solana. There's two I have in mind. One was that hack, which was absolutely terrifying, where it was in like the factory code of the wallet. Was it so? Do you know of the wallet? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, so that's the Slope wallet hack.
The Slope wallet hack. Yeah, like can you break down what happened there? Because that is, as someone that's been in crypto for a bit, that's terrifying. Because there's nothing you can do about it. It's in the factory settings.
Right. So it was in the factory settings. I say it's funny. We actually ran into one of these Slope employees at Xhack, and he was looking for work. I think like there's still people. Right. Well, there's someone else at the company still trying to build another wallet, which I'm unsure of. I don't know. It's I you know, this is all just a guess. I made it all up. But the findings, yeah. Well, the findings of the Slope wallet hack, I actually have them up in front of me, and this is not something I was with OtterSec for at the time, but it was obviously following. And it was basically, so some of they were leaking private keys. And there's also, I guess, some pretty thorough speculation that this may have occurred from an internal, it's all speculation, of course, right?
Many such cases.
Right. Yeah. So we don't actually know, but it wouldn't make sense. It's what makes, sense, right? But the infrastructure changes, so we actually have like a map here. Let me see. Basically, yeah, so the wallet was just leaking public keys. 765 of them out of 7,000 were leaked addresses. And it was something that, someone found an exploit in and was able to just start recovering wallets using mnemonic phrases and public and private keys to restore them, withdraw all the assets. And this is only anyone who had ever used Slope wallet specifically, which, I saw people losing their minds. I woke up, saw a bunch of tweets, was like looking for my assets, and they were all there because I've never used Slope. But
yeah, that's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with Solana. That has to do with Slope.
Right. And even though Solana felt responsible in a sense, right? So, I mean, it was just a PR shit show ultimately.
Yeah.
When they see like, oh, Solana's getting hacked, everybody like
terrible optics right here.
Yeah. Right. Everyone start unplugging your computers. Who even knows? Like, you're next type thing. So
it's like the chain goes down and my wallet is not safe. Like, just perfect fun, just the perfect headlines.
Right.
Yeah.
So we worked with Solana closely, and then also stepped into the war room with Slope to decide like where this was even coming from, because like it was only people who had used Slope is ultimately what it came down to, and it was just bad code written there. But yeah, since then, like I said, I don't think Slope does much. There are much more secure wallets out there that we have secured. I'd say that the number one on Solana being Phantom, that we work closely with to ensure security for.
Days was the second one.
The second one was Mango Markets.
Mango. Yeah.
Well, this is your standard lending exploit, but I just find the whole situation just fascinating with like the guy's just like out there, just like making governance proposals and saying how he executed a very profitable trading strategy.
And he's in a way not wrong, right? That's exactly what he did. He didn't find an exploit in a smart contract. I'm not encouraging this type of behavior, right? This is pure market manipulation, and it's frowned upon. I don't like when you do it to me, and I don't like when I have money deposited in Mango and you extract it, right? Like I had money in Mango, lost a good chunk of change, but it's over now. Anyways, I think he wants to return the money to them, but I think end up just pulling from the treasury instead, because ultimately what happened was he bet against the volatility of Mango itself, and basically being able to borrow against an illiquid coin is what the problem was there. So they didn't have any risk factors in place when he decided to fill up a position for 480 million contracts of Mango. Mind you, the total circulation of Mango is 1 billion. So he filled up half the supply in perps, right? In a perp position for, I think they allow up to like 8x leverage on Mango. What he did from there was, so he counter traded himself. He sold like 480 contracts to himself, and then went to a spot market and started with another like $2 million, pumping the price from like a penny up to 90 cents, obviously sending his per position through the roof. And from there, he was able to, on leverage, withdraw liquidity from his unrealized gains that he had made off this wide open per position. And then once the per position was all the way up here, he added collateral to the top of it, shorted it all the way down, removed the liquidity from that side, and left Mango insolvent ultimately. But then still had
my God.
It was crazy. I was actually at the gym when this was happening, and our Twitter starts blowing up because Robert, our founder, he put out a tweet, "Hey, Mango was just hacked for $100 million," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" So I'm like, and first I go to check if my money's there. I'm like, wait, this is way bigger of a problem. So I actually had my laptop with me at the gym. I put down the weights. I run
Stop
to
the workout.
Stop the workout.
Straight to the locker room.
Exactly. So, dude, when I'm on call, like, I mean, like, that's another thing about security and like having a global team. Like, if somebody needs help, like, I'm there. We're there, and so we were there for Mango, even though they're not our client. We were the first to market on kind of finding out about the exploit and ultimately solving it with the Mango team, and coming to the realization that it wasn't their smart contracts, it was just risk management ultimately.
You explained that very well. I honestly, so nice job
Thank
there. Yeah, lending, I mean, we all saw that on ETH, especially with Cream, all the lending exploits that happened. Having just pooled lending is just dangerous, honestly. Like, you're susceptible to Oracle attacks like that. You're susceptible to price manipulation. And, sometimes people like fuck around and find out, and sometimes people fuck around and, make off with $100 million, and they're trying to figure out like, oh shit, like, what do I do now?
Well, right. And in that same regard, I mean, if you go to use Mango Markets, you can't use it in the US. You need to access it from anywhere else. You need a VPN, right? So it's like, who are you going to tell? The FBI that it happened? Because if this guy goes and does the same thing in the stock market, he's getting put in handcuffs. But, you can't use the protocol here anyway, so who are you going to tell? So
yeah, it's like, I mean, this has happened a few times before where it's like, that is code is law. It's code law. Like, what about LayerZero, as in like the people affected by this? Because, you put your money in there, you didn't do anything. Next thing you know, it's insolvent and you can't get your money out. I wonder like what standards, not just for like Solana, but for all of crypto and DeFi, will be like put in place as best practices for protocols, whether it's like limits on pools, whether it's just like, people knowing, this, you just don't do stuff, even though like in the code you could do that, you just don't like extract $100 million of liquidity from a lending protocol. I don't know.
Yeah. So someone actually that we just started working with, Ratio Finance, they basically implemented risk models to prevent things like this. So they've never had a single liquidation on their platform. And it's actually someone we partnered with to give away $10,000 in professional security consultancy to audit something like this, because it was both a novel and complex idea, especially in lieu of what just happened with Mango Markets and, leaving an entire protocol for 9 figures insolvent. So there are people, I mean, yeah, there's code that can be written and should be written to put in place. Like when a liquidity threshold is met or a lack thereof, then, either you can't borrow against it anymore, or the amount of leverage that you can use goes down, or you just can't even trade it on leverage. You can only buy it spot, and those are things that have to be actively monitored. So when you say code is law, it's hard to say, right? It's obviously very, you can put it in place to like have it think a certain way, but you ultimately need a human at the end of the day to decide.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that Solana's in open beta. In my opinion, all of DeFi is in beta, and we're all guinea pigs in that. Like, every time we interact with the protocol, no matter the chain, you don't know like if someone put like a DNS bug or DNS hack, or you don't know that like someone the next day is going to go in and just like rug pull you. That's why it's not mainstream yet. That's why DeFi is down 90%. I don't even know what TVL is now, like 50, 60 million billion. Yes. I mean, 60 billion. like
Yeah.
down like 75% from all-time highs. It will get back up. It will go to like hundreds of billions, if not trillions. But for it to get there, like every time there's a hack, like it's kind of like every time Solana goes down, it puts Solana back. Every time there's a hack like this, no matter the hack, no matter the details, because at the end of the day, people just hear hack, and then they just think like unsafe, and like they and institutions just like run away. So it's just like, how can we get protocols safe enough for institutions to be like, yeah, I don't mind like putting in a bag, like 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures in a protocol. And I guess that's where you guys. Perfect segue.
Yeah, seriously. So I guess like there's a hard truth about some of this is that like nothing can be entirely decentralized, right? Because everyone wants to turn to someone when something goes wrong, and nothing will ever always go right. So there needs to be an element of centralization for some things, especially when they're holding 9 figures and you need someone to adjust the risk of a certain protocol, right? And while it's still decentralized and more permissionless than like actually decentralized, you need someone there to kind of make the decision like, hey, we shouldn't be able to borrow 8x leverage against this coin that has $100,000 in liquidity.
Yeah, I don't agree with that fully, maybe with certain things, but I think like the shining example of decentralization and immutability, there's two. There's Ethereum and Uniswap. Like Ethereum at like a blockchain level and Uniswap at an application level. Like the Uniswap contracts are just so well executed where they're just completely permissionless. It's like, hey, like you go in, spot swap between 2 assets. It's brilliant. Honestly, like they did a work. There's a reason why that's the most forked contract of all time, and it's still immutable and decentralized. With other things, I guess it's a little bit trickier, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible to like aspire to that, because especially, definitely a little bit of romantic when it comes to decentralization and sovereignty. So like I would like for there to be a world where like, contracts are immutable and permissionless and like stand the test of time without human intervention, because I think that's what we're all building towards. But like in that process of getting there, there's gonna have to be some checks.
Right. There will have to be kind of leaders, right? And that's, I mean, people who build these things in the first place, it's not like the problem, I guess, with decentralization is like, who do you blame? Or like, where does the responsibility
Who do you blame?
lie? Right?
Yeah.
Like everyone wants someone to blame when something goes wrong. And like, that's the biggest problem about it. And then, but when something does become entirely decentralized and then you have one person spin off and start doing more work, they feel undercompensated because it's decentralized and no one wants to pay them either. So they start leading this idea in a way that goes like, okay, I'm going to start doing more work, but I also feel the need to be compensated a little bit more, or like to be a little bit more famous than everybody else, to be the thought leader on a certain idea. And then what they do is start hiring other people to do that. And then it turns into this giant pyramid of
clout.
Yeah, pretty much. And then it turns into that, but you have this like hierarchy that ends up like reverting back to this centralized kind of entity that like trickles down all of the information into like what was once the DAO. And then what happens when the DAO gets mad? They start going up and uprising and flipping the triangle upside down to where, all right, now these guys are at the bottom, we're the DAO, and then it almost like resets.
What are DAOs like on Solana? I haven't heard much about DAOs on Solana.
What are DAOs like on Solana? So, it depends. I guess which DAOs are we talking about? There are a lot of multi-sig protocols that make it easy for DAOs to operate.
I guess is there like, because the thing with Ethereum, there's a very deep and sophisticated DAO ecosystem. I mean, I've been to MCon, MetaCurselCon like a few times. And it's all around Moloch and like we have this like goal and aspiration to defeat Moloch and solve coordination problems. And you have a lot of DAOs working towards that. Like they're definitely far away, and the battle against Moloch is not something that ever ends, to be honest. But there is this like culture of solving coordination problems. Is there like the same culture that exists on Solana, or do DAOs have other missions and goals?
I guess so. It depends on the DAO, right? There's definitely like, as I guess going up the point earlier where a lot of the liquidity and interest in Solana came from NFTs. A lot of the NFTs or a lot of the DAOs are NFT based and are more, at least from what I've seen, right? Like there are other DAOs out there like the Mango DAO or even who else has one? Basically, yeah, it's like any DeFi protocol that will allow you to, make decisions on the fate of the protocol, like Solend. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they're solving world problems. I've not seen one yet, to be, but
I don't think that either ones are solving world problems yet either. But
yeah. So
Right.
are the DAO on Solana more like a Web 2 fan club, like, or a Web 2 customer forum, or because
you could say the ETH DAOs are like that too.
Yeah, but I feel like with Yearn and Index. Sorry, I just want to finish the two DAOs that I want to highlight. I heard Yearn and Index Co-op have such great DAO infrastructure in the terms that they have working groups and they actually do operate the protocol in the business and actually just does propagate it forward. Is there something like that in Solana?
Okay, so yeah, Monkey DAO, I guess would say, like, so the SMBs, right? The team over there, they work very hard. They're at every single meetup. They're at every single event. A lot of it's self-paid for, right? Like they're just happy to travel and network and do new things. Like I think they're spinning off and building a branch called Monkey Ventures and looking to just invest in new projects across all ecosystems, right? Some of their leaders over there, like Nam and Mac D is her name, and then Sai. There's some three really cool people I get to see at all the events that are part of the Monkey DAO that were the SMBs. They were one of the first mints on Solana back in August of last year. They minted for 2 Solana, and I think the floor right now is at like 190 Solana. And while it's not equivalent to like the dollar value of a Bored Ape, I think in terms of the multiplication thereof is pretty close. But yeah, no, they're doing really cool stuff. They have like team lawyers. Everybody's actually happy to contribute from a DAO perspective. If you own a monkey, they get together to do like IRL meetups and dinners and go to concerts and whatnot. So,
that is cool. Yeah, I noticed the same thing with Degens as well.
Degens,
like the same like camaraderie,
right?
Which is really the soul of a DAO. Which I have to say, like they definitely have.
Yeah, so DDAO is another one too. That we like. It's cool, right? Like they'll turn into, like, it was a very loud, fast moving project. The art was cool. They did the Dead God thing. They have, you're able to stake them and earn dust. Like you're gonna earn, I think, like 7.5 dust a day just for staking it, and that's like dust is trading a little over $1 last I checked. So like just yields you $7 a day. It's like, and if you I minted them at the time. I minted those and SMBs, and don't still hold any of the either original mints, but hold both of them. And so the D-Gods, let me think. Yeah, so you can stake to earn them. They do a lot of other cool stuff with utility, basically.
Yeah, they're like one of the few NFT projects I know that are doing DeFi stuff as well, like stake and you earn it. There's also like if you have a Dead God, you could go get a tube or Ute. I mean,
oh, that's right. Yeah. We were talking about that before.
Yeah,
the tube.
The one time I've interacted on Solana was for the Ute list.
Right. Yeah, there we and you got the Ute list. That's really impressive.
I got on the Ute list. I have a tube. I'm just holding it, to be honest. I'm just chilling. I'm like, all right, this is like me. This is me building bridges. This is me trying out something new. Like now I have like, all right, like there is obviously something going on there. I mean, hell, Wayne Rooney was on the Ute list. Allen Iverson was on the Ute list.
That's right.
And I was like getting FOMO. I'm like, damn, I want to be in the same club as Allen Iverson. It's my childhood idol right there.
Right. Yeah, I guess Capital K, when you asked me about DAOs, and I was just like, I don't know. Like, I guess, yeah, the two of the biggest DAOs are definitely Monkey DAO and DDAO on Solana. But no, yeah, the Utes are fun, even though like it's been delayed a little bit. I think a lot of it has to do with market conditions and that type of stuff. But who knows?
Yeah.
I'm
I'm not
holding.
gonna. I mean, I minted it, I held it, but like I mean, talk about blockchain uptime. Like minting it was such a nightmare. I was just like, why isn't this thing working? Like everyone was just trying to mint a Ute, and then my friend's just like, just wait a day. I'm like, fine, fine. Open beta, guys.
Right. Yeah, open beta. Exactly. When mainnet.
Yeah, mainnet coming soon. TM. Another thing I wanted to, all right, after DAOs, another thing I want to get into, I saw on your website that you guys worked with LayerZero, which is one of my favorite projects in crypto right now. Can you go into like what you did for LayerZero? Did you audit like the Solana portion? Did you audit like all of LayerZero? Like, what did you guys do with LayerZero, and what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, so LayerZero, they're actually an official partner of ours. It's something that I think we've announced in a tweet even, or planning to in the next week. So
Alpha,
yeah.
Flywheelpod, your daily dose of alpha. We just get it out of.
That's right. Yeah. So pretty much anything that they do. Let me see. So like their Aptos bridge, their EVM bridge, we've audited, and the Solana bridge for that matter. Like any of the integrations that they need, like basically a partnership means it's kind of like a retainer type model where and ultimately just partnership where whenever they need they have an update or they have a smart contract to be audited, they just drop it on our table. We go through it in a collaborative type effort where we're going back and forth. Robert or whoever the lead developer is will be asking them questions about the code, and they'll be collaborating with their CTO, going back and forth about the actual infrastructure or the syntax of the language, making sure everything is sound and efficient for both the user and
the syntax of the messaging and like the actual code.
Yeah. You see just messages, you just see chunks of code. Hey, I noticed something weird about this. Like, did you mean to do this? Or and this is with every client, right? It's just like a collaborative approach that we take to all of our security needs. Whereas some people, you just drop code on their desk and you'll hear from them in 6 weeks. You get an audit report that means nothing, as opposed to like actually working with the client and making sure they're implementing best security practices over time.
Wait, so Robert is the name of the founder of OtterSec.
Yeah, Robert Chen at not Dghost is his name on Twitter.
At not Dghost. Okay. What's his background? How did he get like so deep in the syntax and so deep in the bytes?
Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, he's for fun would hunt bug bounties and report them to like companies like Google and Yahoo and the Department of Defense, and like just
a true patriot.
It's what?
I said a true patriot right here.
Yeah, no, he just loved doing it. Like he does it for the love of the game, and now he's found a way to profit off it. So he's doing what he loves for money, and that's like ultimately the goal. And like that's not what it's about at the end of the day, because we're finding bug bounties on the side. And he also plays CTFs, and that's where we actually get a lot of our employees. So like a CTF, for those who don't know, it's like a capture the flag, and it's a game or like a model of like where a team of usually 4 or 5 people get together and are actually trying to break code to retrieve a flag, like a digital flag, and upload it, and the first person to do it wins. So it's like a hacking competition.
This is from Paradigm, right?
Paradigm does CTFs, yeah, but there are many others. It's like a rather niche community, but
oh, okay, I see what it is. So instead of like $100 million, it's a flag.
It's a flag, and then oftentimes there's a monetary incentive, or you get bragging rights. Who knows? But yeah, he was on a really good team. They separate it by like, I guess, collegiate and like student based, and then professional, people who have left college. So
I didn't realize CTF was outside of Paradigm. That just goes to show how much I'm not a dev. But it makes sense for it to be like a whole niche community of participants.
Right. Yeah, and it's not even like just Web3 people. I was actually at a conference in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama. I had to look up if this place even existed before I went. Turns out it does. And yeah, it was like this traditional Web2 cybersecurity conference to try and figure out like the state of the market kind of on that. And really, I mean, after talking to a lot of these companies, they have no clue about blockchain, about Web3, NFTs, like God forbid NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
Bless
God
you.
forbid. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's just crazy to see how, like, when they say we're early, like we truly are. Or I mean, you'll just see a lot of people getting phased out, I think, from this Web2 space, and like being able to talk to them about certain things, about exactly what they're talking about, but then exactly what I'm talking about. Like they're like, wait, go back to the first word you say. Did you say blockchain? And I'm like, yeah.
Blockchain? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say this weekend I was at a buddy's engagement party, and I was talking to somebody that went to Yale, and now it lives in SF doing late stage venture capital, and I was like, oh, I am like in a kind of like that, but just for Web3 and DeFi and crypto. He's just like, that stuff is so foreign to me, like, and it was like similar to you, like, you have to like disclose like if you had like any trading and this and that, but like it's so like out there for like a lot of people still, which is hard for like us to believe because like we're in it every day, so it's just our normal lives. But for most people, especially if like you work in tech, and it's kind of like, oh, like that's the other side, you don't go there, like that side is dangerous. But
in a way, right?
In a way, I mean, like they're not wrong. I mean, you're at an auditing firm, but
right.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah, and you see like the government, actually, the reason we went there was to kind of target government entities. And I mean, what they pay per contract is nothing close what, I mean, it costs for an audit right now. Like it's almost like a third of what they're willing to pay. And so like I think like once they start this idea of their own private blockchains and like the CBDC, I mean, they're gonna have to start paying a lot more than they do now for these contracts. Because I think right now they're like a high end contract would be like $350 an hour or something, or whatever it was. Wow. Yeah, very different.
Let's roll back to CBDCs. Wait.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing like, well, we're a stablecoin podcast, so like we're into this shit.
Love that.
What have you heard like any talks about CBDCs? Or like what have you? Is it just research online? Have you heard things through the grapevine?
So CBDCs. Let me see. I've spoken with a few people at Circle actually, and not on like this is all like basic kind of level conversation, I guess. But I brought up to them when I started talking to them was this letter back in November of last year that someone from the SEC sent to Jeremy Allaire, the president or CEO of Circle currently. Basically asking them how easy would it be for your entire business model to rotate into this a CBDC or a US dollar, like a digital currency, they called it. And I brought that up to him and he's like, wow, I can't believe you remember that. Or like, yeah, that was a big deal. And so I think since then they've kind of decided they really don't even need to integrate with the government. Like they can stay doing USDC legally, and they do it much quicker than the government does. Like the government moves very slow when it comes to this stuff, and that's why they're still paying like lower end on the contracts. And same with the Web2 people, they just don't move fast enough. And that's a lot of the reason I left that, the other companies, like they just don't move fast enough. So the startup kind of vibe is, the Web3 life is much different than Web2.
Yeah, it's a lot faster and it can adapt a lot quicker. Yeah, I feel the same way about CBDCs too. I just feel like they're too slow to evolve. And naturally, I would see Circle becoming kind of like a quasi, like if there were to be a USDC, a CBDC, they would like nationalize Circle because the infrastructure is already in place. But I feel like there's just too much gridlock in DC for any of that to happen unless like China like truly like comes out in full force with their CBDCs. And like then like a lot. Imagine if like more economic activity flows to the yuan, Chinese yuan. Fuck,
yuan.
Sorry,
yeah.
So good.
Yuan.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still got a sinus infection. Yuan. If more activity flows to the yuan because it's just like cheaper and faster to transact, and because it's directly to CBDCs, then the U.S. government will wake up. But until then, I don't see that happening.
No, 100%. Yeah, it's a speed thing. It's whoever's first to market, and it's like, oh, you're not ready. We are, so we're gonna put out a product, and
I
that's what they're
actually
doing.
wanted to circle back real quick to the Solana ecosystem at large currently. What are some like percolating narratives that you're kind of seeing in the Solana ecosystem?
Yeah, all I've seen are NFTs, but are there more?
Yeah, so I guess my mention of the Firedancer, that extra layer of validators, is a promising promising infrastructure for the Solana blockchain as a whole. Just the increased liability or reliability and speed,
Increase liability.
increase liability, or decrease it for that matter.
Yeah.
Freudian slip. But
Yeah.
on ETH we have
It's
like
reliability.
on ETH there's like the ZK narrative, the optimism, modular blockchain narrative, and a real yield narrative. Like, are there
Real yield, yeah.
what are some similar narratives that's kind of percolating in the Solana ecosystem?
Okay, validators, NFTs.
Yeah.
Validators, NFTs, MEV, high frequency trading, which is what Jump Crypto started the more validators layer for. Outside of that, nothing crazy, kind of just whatever you want. It's a good vibe. Like Solana Breakpoint, Lisbon, should be fun. Solana Miami was a lot of fun.
I was gonna ask, what about the Solana mobile stack? They really made a big splash with that.
How could I forget?
Right.
Yes.
How could you forget?
How could I forget?
Like,
David's teeing it up for you.
Yeah. I literally like this. It's like pitch it like little soft toss.
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, of course. So Solana mobile stack and all of the people building on that. Obviously, it's going to be the first like blockchain phone. But yeah, I forgot about that because it was NFT NYC that they actually announced it, and it's been a bit since we've heard about it. But as that code becomes available, we'll actually be responsible for auditing that as well. So Solana mobile stack. And Backpack is another integration with them that will make it easy for like NFTs and interacting with the Solana blockchain from your phone and other DeFi protocols for that matter. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. I will never, it's going to be hard to just drop everything and make a blockchain phone my primary phone, but I definitely am going to use it and test it out. And, I like Solana, so we'll give it a shot for sure.
We'll give it a shot. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of, I remember like 15 years ago when I was a kid, the ESPN phone came out. It was like the first sports phone, like dedicated to sports.
Interesting.
And yeah. And like, I think you've seen this tried before, but what ended up happening was the iPhone went out, and then how it became was just everybody just had iPhone apps and Android apps and stuff.
Right.
But no one has really gone for the hardware in a while, and it's not like the iPhone or Android has made drastic improvements. If the Solana mobile phone is really that much better than the iPhone, it could be a dark horse. But then again, I am like the idealist of, compared to most people.
Right. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like, because obviously, I mean, both sides of you have Android cultists and you have iPhone cultists. But you also have blockchain cultists who may or may not be interested in forming a cult around the new Solana mobile phone. So there's potential there, I think.
Honestly,
right? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like most new users to crypto, especially in the developing world, use mobile phones. They don't have laptops. They have phones. So like, if pop good target market there. Just cheaper option, easier option. It all comes down to just ease of use and, knowing, what your users want out of your UI. If, the mobile phone has a good UI and it's sticky, kind of like iOS. I am an iOS cultist, honestly. I had an iPhone.
Honestly,
I had an iPhone. I went to Android and then I went back to iPhone.
Yeah, I actually started on Android. I had my first Android phone was the G1. And it was like popped out in the slide. It was the Google phone, Android. It was awesome. I thought it was coolest thing ever, right? And then I got an iPhone 4S, and they force you to be a cultist, honestly. Like by like taking all your notes and putting them in the cloud and all your music. Every song since I was 12 years old, you know, is saved on my
It's
Apple
all
Music
there.
library.
It's all there. Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to not be, but I guess we'll see. It'll be cool to have like a second phone, I think, for those types of transactions where your keys are actually stored in the phone, and like inherently built to be secure. So, you know, we'll make sure of that.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to bring it back to, since we are not just a stablecoin podcast, but a Frax podcast. Do you have any thoughts about Frax and stablecoins in general? Have you looked at Frax? What do you like initially think, or like from your past?
If you could enlighten me a little bit on like kind of like the current state of the market on Frax and, you know, about it in general.
Yeah. So,
awesome.
you know, Frax is, you know, started off as this partially collateralized algorithmic stablecoin, but we talked about narratives earlier. Like one of the narratives that not only are they pushing but executing on, it's called the DeFi Trinity, which you actually hinted at earlier. So it's what if a protocol can own like the full financial stack? So what if it could have its own native lending market, its own native exchange, and its own native stablecoin? And you see a lot of protocols build toward this model. You have Aave with Go, their stablecoin. You have Curve with Curve USD, their stablecoin. You even had like Faye and Raritan, except when they merged, they tried to do this.
Right.
But Frax in particular actually executed and pulled it off. They basically built primitives to fit their monetary policy needs and objectives, because they're doing these very large for example, their exchange is not just like your normal AMM. It's a TWAM, so it's a time-weighted automated market maker, which means it makes orders over a long period of time. So instead of doing like $1 million order in a day, you do it over like maybe a few hours, few days, few weeks, whatever you want. And so like Frax is right now doing a buyback of their FXS token, and they've been using the TWAM to do that. So that's cool. And then they have the lending market. And so they have like different things called AMOs, called automated market operations. And that's basically a fancy word to say Frax will do open actions on chain to maintain peg. So in lending AMOs, they'll like mint 5 million Frax, put it into Aave, and then people can over collateralize. So then people can take out loans against Frax, and it's not a liability of the protocol, it's a liability of the person taking out the loan. And so like Frax, basically with the lending market with FraxLend, that came about because it gave them a lot more granular optionality, because with like Rari it got exploited, and you're at the mercy of pools, and like you know, you have to deal with their fees. Like FraxLend has no fees for the protocol. They basically just made this so people can like have like a place to lend out take out loans in Frax for the best rates and whatnot. It's isolated lending pool, so it's a lot safe. You don't have like the Mango situation,
right,
and everything. And like the thing is, with all these different primitives, they're not forks. They're built from the ground up, and like they're brand new, and they've gone through an extensive auditing process, whether it was like internally, whether it's like a few different firms, and whatnot. And then the last thing that we're very excited about here is Frax ETH. Which is their LSD, their liquid staking derivative of Ethereum. So, like, what is an LSD but a stablecoin, but an ETH stablecoin? And so, who does stablecoins the best? It's Frax. And so they just dropped this. They're about to like get their curve gate. I'm not sure if you saw this, Kit, but in the forum, like Sam was like, this will be like the first like at Frax gauge that direct rewards to like a non-Frax pair. And so,
this is Sam McCulloch that you're talking about earlier.
Wait, no, Sam
Bankman-Fried.
No, wrong. Sam Kazemian. There's a lot of Sams in crypto. There should be a Sam down, but no.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it's a really interesting product actually, and it's all EVM based stuff. It seems.
It's all EVM. It's all ETH. They're actually just coming out. Their next product that they're gonna ship is a bridge. Well, it's not even a bridge. It's like a messaging, a ferry. It's a ferry. It's Frax Ferry. So, Frax, the Nomad hack happened, and like, there's some Frax in there, and they're like, okay, like we need to really dumb down the bridge. We need to make the bridge as dumb as humanly possible. And so they're building Frax Ferry, which, from what I understand, all Frax will be redeemable on Ethereum. It won't be like before. Canonical Frax was redeemable on the chain that it was on. So it was like native to the chain, which was cool.
So they made Ethereum then the settlement layer for all of it.
They're gonna make Ethereum the settlement layer, and in the way future, not in the way future, maybe in like 2-3 years, we were talking about ZK earlier. There's gonna be a Frax rollup, a ZK Frax rollup, where like all Frax will be like settled and redeemable on the rollup in like a hybrid execution manner. So like, you know, execution, like basically executions will happen in the rollup, and executions will happen in the rollup, and then like every once in a while, it will like send it to the main chain.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there like a TVL then on Frax itself that like are they transparent with the actual like value backing the stablecoin?
Yes. So Kiet does every week. We actually are about to do tomorrow our Frax check. Every Tuesday we have Frax check.
Nice.
We have Frax check, your weekly Frax vibe check, and we check the numbers of the Frax protocol, see how the circulation is doing, see how their AMOs are doing. And yeah, like I believe their TVL is, I mean, there's 1.3 billion Frax in circulation. I'm not sure what's the TVL. It's several hundred million. It's like I know they're like
700 million in the AMOs, and then a couple hundred more millions just kind of scattered across the board in different non-Frax controlled liquidity pools.
Yeah. It's nuts. Even in like a bear market, they're still profitable. Like with all the activities they do.
This is like the only protocol in DeFi that I've seen that has its hand in so many other DeFi Lego blocks and still managed to generate a sizable revenue for itself during this bear market. And we'll send you the Frax check.
It
link
seems like it. I mean, it seems like a novel. Yeah, please do. That'll be awesome. Yeah, it seems like a rather novel product, but also extremely useful, like as a DeFi product as a whole. I've caught wind of this, obviously, but never really dove into it. But I see the docs here, and I'm definitely checking
meaty.
It out more.
They're very meaty. I recommend listening to prior podcasts. But yeah, it's like so hard to like know what's worth paying attention to in crypto and DeFi because so much stuff is like happening and popping up. Especially like if you're in Solana land and Aptos land, you're not going to hear about Frax as much. And so same thing, like I'm in Frax land, but like it would be cool. I mean, I've talked about this with Sam K about like maybe one day like getting Frax on Solana. And honestly, I think that would be possible with LayerZero. I believe Frax would be integrated with LayerZero. So if that's the case, then once Frax Ferry is out, and then boom, like Frax on Solana, you can go like have a ball with whatever tsunami is happening. Actually, no, tsunami's Aptos.
Yeah, exactly. Or just at like the speed of it, whatever it may be, low transaction costs, whatever it is. I mean, there's no reason to. I think, I mean, maybe in this instance, right, Frax is more ideal for something like Ethereum. Especially where it's already built out. It's like, why go try and rebuild it on another chain? Try and make sure it's secure on another chain. You're exposing investors at that rate. Like if this is secure and this is already figured out on this blockchain and it works and they're profitable in a bear market, it's like, stay here. Why move? Why? Just to, get more users, or just, like this is something that I genuinely would move chains for, but not like entirely, right? Like I would allocate some money towards because it's a novel idea and it seems to work. You guys, you're passionate about it.
We're I'm curious Frax about the
podcast. That's right. Yeah. So wait, who's the team then behind Frax? Are you guys part of it, or do you know them?
No. So we got funded by the Frax DAO. We've gotten 2 grants to produce Frax content and basically because there's a running joke in the Frax community and DeFi community that Frax has no marketing team, and we're basically like the only close type of marketing and awareness they invested in. The team is literally just 8 devs. That's it. It's just 8 devs.
That's all you need.
Like that's all you need. They're just literally let the smart contracts do all the work. 8 devs. They all, I kind of call them the SEAL Team 6 of DeFi. They all have like their responsibilities in unit. They help each other when needed. and it just works so far. Like they developed a system that works. They have very high standards for themselves. They are thinking long term. They understand where they truly skate where the puck is heading, not where the puck is.
Yeah.
And so like with this LSD thing coming out, it's funny. Like last year it was like Convex. They're the first ones to form Convex and like have a VE system, and now everybody like jumped on the VE train, and now, and that was last year, and now they're like the first ones to have like their own ETH stablecoin, like LSD, and soon everybody will have them. Like soon everybody will be chasing Frax ETH, Lido, and Rocket Pool and whatnot.
And then FRAXSOL also possible.
FRAXSOL,
also
yeah.
possible. But
let me know if if you need to make the connection in any way. We know the people up there, and in that same regard, we've
for sure.
we've done Solidity work. It's just a competitive space for it. So even if we would just is the most of the code open source at this point?
Yeah, all of the code is open source. So just hop on the GitHub, maybe like have like Robert.
Yeah, have Robert go blow it up.
Yeah.
We'll see what.
And the great thing about the team is, there's only 8 of them, and they always be shipping, right? And because of that, they needed the Flywheel pod like us to come in and kind of be that external voice for them and kind of sing their praises.
Yeah,
and
they need
help showcase.
They need a hype man, basically.
Exactly, we are the hype men.
Yeah,
I love that. Okay, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, because like they're building all this cool shit, and like they needed someone to amplify their voice, and that's why we're here.
That's super cool. I mean, you've got a new client, at least, and one new set of eyes today looking at Frax for sure. So you're doing a good job.
And also make sure you subscribe to the Flywheel pod on YouTube.
Yeah,
and I'll get like and follow, link in bio. Yes, I get it.
Follow some Twitter.
I already follow. Yeah,
I tease.
But anyways, Do you guys, so like, I guess like the format of it when you go to post it is gonna be, you put these on YouTube?
Yeah, we put these on YouTube, Spotify, like wherever podcasts are found. We'll usually do clips. Actually, we do clips every week. So like we'll take some of the best clips from this podcast and just share them out on Twitter. That's really helped in our growth. We only started this 4 months ago, and we're at over 1,000 subscribers. So let's go.
We started this in the deep air too. So
June.
The people who are here are real. We got
started
the real
this after. Yeah. Whoever's still listening, especially to the end, like you're a real one, and I love you.
That's awesome. No, yeah, dude. Sounds like I'm buying Frax, or I'm buying Flywheel Pod at the bottom here.
Yeah.
So I'm bullish on you guys. You guys have been awesome so far.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you having me on as well. By the way, while I'm here, might as well rep the brand. This is a 1 of 9 OtterSec hoodie.
Oh, with the drip.
Here we go.
Oh.
Okay.
It's got a little otter on the sleeve too. We only gave them to like people that we've worked with in the past, and we're actually gonna have some more in Lisbon for some of the clients that we missed. But it's something we looked at. Yeah,
I gotta
get back, right? Yeah. Well, we can talk. I'll get you.
We'll figure it out. Speaking
for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I guess we're getting to that time where it's the end, and it's the time for the rapid fire questions.
Go ahead.
All right. I'll start. Christian, when did you first touch the chain and sexes don't count? First on-chain activity.
My first on-chain, you want to know exactly what I did? I bought Bitcoin and sent it to the Philippines for a fake ID.
You bought Bitcoin for a fake ID. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. What is your favorite off-chain activity? What is your touch grass activity of choice?
Lifting weights, going to the gym, cold plunging, steam room, all in one, I guess. Hitting the gym feels good.
Nice. Respect. What's some advice you would give to yourself that's 5 years younger than you now?
Listen. Just listen. Don't talk so much, just listen.
Okay.
Some good advice.
If you weren't in Web3 or crypto, what would you be doing as a career?
Oh God, man.
I'd be fucking miserable.
Whatever I'd be doing, I'd be miserable. Yeah, whatever it is I'd be doing, I would be miserable.
I'd be miserable.
Oh, nice. Misery as a career. Nice. First one on the pod.
Nice. Yeah, I'm
Misery.
curious. Yeah, what
Yeah.
are some of the other answers you get for that?
We usually get energy. Like people would like be working in energy or something.
Yeah. Well, Sam K, he said he'll go into neurosciences. And I was like,
Dude, he gave the most detailed answer ever.
Yeah.
Like, he would have.
Yeah.
He could have easily like done that.
Right.
I actually,
No,
yeah.
I'm right where I belong, honestly. Like I told you in the beginning, like I made that transition. I took my LSAT, ready to go to law school, made the transition into TradFi, which I ultimately liked, but there was just too much red tape, and then that's what brought me here to DeFi and cybersecurity in general, getting to work with everybody in the space. So
Hell yeah.
that's it, man.
Hell yeah.
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 Yeah, I really
Thank you
appreciate.
so
Yeah, I
much.
appreciate you guys. You guys have been awesome.
Yeah, no,
And,
this has been a fun episode. Like, we don't usually go, like I said, like this is the building bridges episode where like we've ventured out to beyond the EVM to the Solana and Aptos lands. We made the move, pun intended, and it's been fun. It's been quite insightful and useful for the multi-chain world and getting more aware of the multi-chain world that we're like heading towards.
Yeah, we got to break out
guys.
of our, ETH bubble sometimes and say hi to
out
other
of our
people.
out of our like super autistic like curved flywheel bubble where it's like this
Yes.
incentive, that incentive, blah blah blah. Like there's more out there.
Well, right, and I guess one last point too, though, it's easy for EVM for you to be, or like Ethereum to like latch onto it, want to hold it forever, right? But then, like when I first started buying Solana, it was awesome, right? All the liquidity was there, but I told myself, in my group chat of the normies that I onboarded, I was like, hey guys, when new and better technology comes out, we have to be ready to dump all of this stuff and rotate into the next best chain. And while I don't think we've seen the next best chain happen yet, I've started allocating accordingly in case that next best chain is here,
There.
if that makes sense. So,
It does.
maximalism
Wise last words.
can be
maximal-
toxic ultimately,
Yeah.
but Ethereum's great. I have nothing bad to say about it.
Be a romantic, not a maximalist.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Awesome,
We'll
guys.
see you next time.
Awesome,
All right,
man. Thank
cheers.
you so much, Christian.
Wait.
Peace.
Thank you for everyone for watching this week's edition of Flywheel Pod with Cuffy of OtterSec, the auditor episode about Solana land, even Aptos land, and everything in between. Honestly, when I was like thinking about it, like being an auditor, that's a tough job. That's a really rough job. Like honestly, if I'd like be an auditor, I'd just like not sleep because I'd just be terrified at all the contracts I looked at.
Dude, agreed. It would be like, you're the underwriter of the most dangerous game of Jenga and the most unstable game ever.
Yeah. Hey, like, Solana's in open beta, but at the end of the day, we're all in beta.
Yeah, facts.
That's my favorite excuse, the open beta. I mean, like, he's not wrong. But if it, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's one of those Lindy effect things.
I hope the listeners stayed all the way until the end to learn about, Tsunami and the fun things that's going down on Aptos.
Yeah. I mean, this is getting released in like a week and a half from now. So like, am I about to sell my soul and get an Aptos wallet ready?
I already got one, bro.
You got one? Yeah. But yeah, at the end of the day though, like we give Solana its shit, but he's onboarding his friends and new users to Solana because it's just faster and easier. And that's just like something I feel the Ethereum community can take note of. And as these ZKs rollups come online and other rollups come online, it'll be interesting to see how the whole crypto ecosystem evolves.
Excited.
Exciting stuff. Yep. And to keep up with all the exciting stuff on Flywheel Pod, please subscribe and hit that bell button. Over 1,000 subscribers on the road to 10K. 4 months to 1K. Can we get to 10K in another 4 months? We'll see.
10x, baby. 10x.
10x. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at FlywheelPod. We're almost at 2K followers. Nice. Join our Telegram group at FlywheelPod. Follow me on Twitter at DeFi Dave 22.
Follow me at 0x_K.
And we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.